Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to begin the funeral service. We ask for those that have a cell phone or pager, if you could turn it to the silent mode. Officiating is Rabbi Moshe Scheinberg.
Mizmor LeDavid Adonai roi lo yechsar. Bino yistesha yaritzeni al mei menuchos yenahaleni. Nafshi yeshoyev yancheni b'magli tzedek l'man shemoi. Gam ki elech begeitz al maves. Lo ira ra ki ato imadi. Shivdecha u'mishantecha. Hema yenachamuni. Taroich lefonai shulchan neged sariroi. Dishanta v'shemen roishi koisi revaya. Ach toy v'chesed yedefuni kol yemei chayoi, v'shafti beveis Adonai le'orech yamim. I will begin with a few words as a kavod achron to Mrs. Beverly Zissman, followed by Dave and some of Mrs. Zissman's grandchildren. It was early in the morning that I was surprised and saddened to be informed of Mrs. Zissman's passing. I didn't know her well, but I believe through my relationship with the Zissmans, I have a window into the type of person that Mrs. Zissman was and the impression that she left. Mrs. Zissman was married for 55 years, a supportive and loving wife. She lived for 48 years in Buffalo Grove, where she developed a close circle of friends. She maintained relationships with her family. When I attended the Zissman Simchas, in passing, I would greet Mrs. Zissman, and immediately one was struck by her grace, by her warmth. She was accepting, she was appreciative of everyone, despite any differences in personality or past, and she sought to draw others close. Her daughters-in-law were daughters and were introduced to others as such. She was present, happy, and fun in her grandchildren's lives. If one walks into the Zissman home, one can see a picture of Mrs. Zissman smiling and enjoying a moment of life with her grandchildren. And that was the picture that accompanied her grandchildren through their lives. She volunteered to give out lunches at Airy Crown, not only because she wanted to be with her grandchildren, but because she wanted her grandchildren to see her in the background of their lives. A person with that type of personality, that's accepting, that's embracing, when you're a person who is happy and comfortable with yourself, when you're genuine and unjaded, then others bring you into their lives. She was the bubby of the block. She was the bubby of the Zissman circle of friends. And she was invited to their simchas as any other grandparent would be. When someone is accepting and supportive, and when love is unconditional, when someone is fun and positive, people are drawn and seek your connection. Dave told me through Mrs. Zissman's illness how at some point he had to finally set up a chat because he was receiving so many messages from people that were concerned and were looking to find what Mrs. Zissman's condition was. But I think, and this from my relationship with the Zissmans, I think Mrs. Zissman's legacy is something that any parent or grandparent can impart to their children and grandchildren, which is an identity. When a child or a grandchild is supported and loved, when they are able to grow up with an image and a model of enrichment and nourishment, then as adults, they grow into those images, and those images become a part of their identity. They themselves become accepting, inspired, selfless, and nurturing, as the Zissmans are, and as Dave is. As we're coming on to the Yontiv of Pesach, of Passover, there's an interesting idea, which is that as Klal Yisrael left Mitzrayim, Moshe Rabbeinu, the leader of Klal Yisrael, upon leaving Mitzrayim, did not deliver speeches of freedom, did not give words of inspiration of how difficult the future was going to be, or of settling in Eretz Yisrael. What he spoke about was a dialogue with their children. It will be when your son asks you, when your child asks you tomorrow, Leimar, ma zois, what is this that you are doing? What type of life are you leading? V'amarta elav, and you shall tell them, B'choizek yad hoitzianu Hashem mitzrayim beis avadim. You shall tell them, and you shall impart to them, and you shall inspire them based on the past that you had. To become a nation, there has to be an identity. An identity needs memory, and the memory is implanted through the stories we tell and through the experience of our lives. I believe that is the identity that Mrs. Zissman has impressed into the lives of her children, of her grandchildren, of her family, of her friends, and of all those that knew her. Her examples, in essence, will continue to live through those who are inspired and remember what type of person she was, and to think of the way she would have acted in given situations. Through that, her memory and her legacy will be perpetuated. She should be an advocate, as she was in her lifetime, in Shemayim for us all. We know that she'll look favorably, as she did in her lifetime, on all of us, and plead our case by the Kisei HaKavod. And her family should be a source of nachas and find comfort, along with her husband, in the fruits of her lives and in the way that she touched so many people. Biola hamavas lanetzach u'mach Hashem dima me'al kol panim. Now ask Dave.
Bear with me, everybody. Hopefully I can get through this. My father, brother, and I want to thank everyone for being here this morning. Life is very busy, and especially before Pesach. I'm well aware of it. And Sunday is very valuable real estate, so thank you for being here today. My mother would not have wanted me to speak long, but it's important to talk about this amazing woman. So, second, I would like to thank all the doctors and nurses who took care of my mother over the last few weeks. She wasn't sick long, but everyone gave her exceptional care and attention, and it's noted. And I want to especially thank my Uncle Alan, who, took my mother to so many appointments, helped my father. The amount of gratitude I have is like boundless. Thank you. I also want to thank Mindy for giving me the support. I'm not home much anyway, but I really wasn't home over the last 4 weeks. But thank you. Just a little about my mother before I get into a few words. She started off her life in Albany Park, very close by. She was the daughter of Sam and Lorraine Birkin. Her siblings Merle and Alan shared many memories as they moved to the West Riders Park area. She attended Sullivan High School and made some lifelong friendships that lasted until her last days. Some of them are in this room today. She started working early for a jewelry wholesaler and eventually went to work for Newman Pharmacy, where my father was starting his pharmacy career. Their friendship developed over lunch breaks, and they eventually married in 1968, right here at Kins. Many of you know the show. Before moving out to Buffalo Grove. After raising my brother Jeff and I, she went to work as a manager for a medical practice for 20 years before hanging it up. My parents were married for 55 years, and they really set an amazing example for us about commitment and support during both good times and bad times. That was her biography. But I'm going to tell you about the woman she was. To know my mother was to love her, period. You don't need really to say much more than that. Over the last couple days, the amount of people reaching out to Mindy and I was beyond anything I could possibly imagine. Everywhere my mother went, she developed relationships. It was known as Bevy, Bubby, and Mama Z. From an early age, my mother set a very good example for us. I would not exactly say she was in the school of strict parenting. Quite the opposite. She was the fun Bubby. She's the fun this. I don't know how to describe it. She always kept it light. Maybe that was the best way to say it. That's not to say she didn't teach us right from wrong. She did. But she had a touch. She did these little things to remind us that she was there for us. I still remember her regularly walking into my elementary school. It's amazing what you remember. With food she picked up for me for special days because she sensed I was upset about something. She would bring a special lunch. It's amazing. This is what I remember as a little kid, but these are the memories. As the news spread of my mother's patira, there was a common theme to the text, emails, and phone calls. It did not matter if it was a buddy of mine from high school, close family friends of my parents over the years, or someone who served hot lunch with my parents at Ari Crown. Didn't matter. It was always the same Mida character trait that they highlighted. She never judged you. She only loved you. And she tried to understand where they were coming from, everybody. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says, Rabbi Shimon said, there are 3 crowns, the crown of Torah, the crown of priesthood, and the crown of kingship. And the crown of a good name is superior to all of them. In addition to the Mishnah coming to teach us that the other 3 crowns are only truly fitting if they carry them with a good name, the crown adorns someone whose deeds earn him or her the respect and affection of their fellow man. Mom, you earned this crown. You did. My mother had a way of connecting with people from all the backgrounds and maintain friendships for over many decades. There's a common saying, and applies to her. Nobody remembers what you said. They remember how they made you feel. Everyone walked away from the interaction with my mother feeling better. I can't think of a better legacy. Mom, we will miss you. Dad, Jeff, and I ask for mechila, for forgiveness, for anything we might have done or said, and our only hope is that our families will bring you nachas. Now, in typical Mindy fashion, she would have none of it if she didn't get the last word in. So she asked me to say a few words on her behalf as well. Mom, I'm speaking for Mindy here. You were easy to come close to, easy to be with, easy to love. No complicated politics, no standing on ceremony about anything. It was just always unconditional love. It was this that Cindy and I appreciated most about you. As the daughters of your two SUNs, you made it easy for us both to come close. You took whatever we were willing to give, and you gave us whatever we needed in return. I specifically remember multiple times over the last 22 years when you did something that was totally selfless, something Cindy and I needed to do that maybe wasn't what you would have wanted or the way you would have chosen to do it. But you did it anyway for us. At the time, I took a mental picture of those moments and filed them away for the future when I'd be a mother-in-law. And I hope to emulate you. You are now my inspiration for that new important relationship in my life. Because even your Ayin Tov, ability to see others in a good light, was so instrumental to who you were. You would seek it out in your friendships as well. And remarkably, your closest circle of friends, the Hormanettes, I'll explain that later, the original Mill Creek group, the ladies from the office, your old high school friends, and more, are all just as non-judgmental as you are. We love you all, and we thank you so many years of friendship and dedication to my mom and dad. It means a lot to me. I saw how close you all were. And it makes sense that you were friends, because you're all like that as well. When it came to our two families, Mom, you embraced our totally different lifestyles, hobbies, and interests. And that was because what you always said. And then you backed it up with action, that Cindy and I were truly your daughters, not your daughters-in-law. When Cindy would create something new, you were the first to buy them and gift them. When I found a new store to shop at, you came to frequent the store too. For years, you and Dad drove down to Cindy and Jeff for Thanksgiving, and you came to sleep over for us over Yom Kippur. You were dedicated to both families in ways that we both needed you to be. You may have been Mom Z to two boys and two wives, but you were affectionately known as Bubby to many more. You and Dad are known and loved across the community as Bubby and Zadie Zissman. From Ari Crown Rebbeim, Moros, and students to the 6700 block of Mozart families, the Bernard Horwitz JCC swim crew, and close friends and more. The text came pouring in on Friday. From all the above, with a quick story or two about the interactions with you over the years. Our favorite is the one asking who would pay Avi and Yitzi $1 for their soccer goals. When the news of the Batira found its way to Mira's best friend, she cried. At our house, she recited your cell phone number. She, of course, knew it by heart. Someone asked our neighbor of ours, how do you even know Mindy's mother-in-law? The neighbor responded, how could I not? Even more legendary than your warm smile and a big heart, may you still have been the love story between you and Dad, 55 years later. You were still whispering and sharing longing looks at each other. You laughed together, you stuck together through thick and thin. And there were some pretty tough times for them. And they lived a love story in front of all who knew them. One example for us as kids. This was something Nomi noticed and took to heart too as she was getting married. Personally, I want to thank you, Mom, for not just being an amazing bubby to our kids, but for truly co-parenting with me so often. My business wouldn't be what it is today without you. I wouldn't be the mother I am without you, because I wouldn't have had the breaks I needed. I wouldn't be the wife I am without your example. I am truly better because of you in my life. Mom, I want to ask for mechila for anything I did wrong, anything I said that wasn't 100% respectful to you and Dad, and anything I misread that caused hurt feelings, for anything left you feeling rejected or hurt. I'm so sorry. Dave and I are grateful to have had the privilege to serve you these last few weeks in a way you served us for decades before. What we saw from you during your short illness was, again, more of your true colors. same true colors. The honor was ours. Our only great regret is we had such limited time to do it. Mom, we love you so much. While why Hashem does what he does will never be understood, as adults, we know the show must go on. Our two little kids, though, Mom, will not be so forgiving. I'm afraid. May Hashem give them and us a koach to continue your legacy in your absence. May they always be comforted by the love you showed, and their siblings and cousins for years to come. May they never question why, and instead bask in so many amazing memories you left with us, our Bubby, to all. Thank you. I love you, Mom. You guys want to come up? Yeah. All right. Probably you do the first one. Go ahead, buddy.
Bobby, you always took me and my friends to Kids Empire. You served me here at 2 noodle soups a day at your house, which mine doesn't let. You always brought us to your pool. I watched a lot at your house. We ate lots of candy with you. We were spoiled at your house. You took me to Taekwondo. Thank you. You always helped me when I need something. When I wasn't home, you always stayed at our house and took care of us one time. You were babysitting at our house. You forgot a toothbrush and showed me you could use your fingers to brush your teeth. We had a bunch of sleepovers. It was always very fun with you. My favorite toy was your blob. I was so disappointed that you passed away so that I can't have fun with you anymore. I love so much about it. We miss you already.
Bobby, you were always there for me and Ephraim in crazy times and fun and sadness. Whenever Ephraim couldn't fall asleep, you always had good ideas. Whenever I was sick, you always made sure to give me a call. You always treated us well, from 2 noodle soups a day to candy and Sundays at your pool. I always enjoyed hanging out with you and Zadie. You took me to ice skating every single week, and you stayed to watch me. You came to every one of my plays and dance recitals. You were my biggest cheerleader. You always cheered me on. I will never forget how much love, happiness, and most of all caring you brought into our lives. I'm so pleased that I got the zechus to be named after your mother. That created a special bond between the two of us that none of my other siblings shared and will stay with me forever now. You were my best friend and a second mom to me. From first thing in the morning calls to Erev Shabbos calls, you even stayed on the phone with me when I was babysitting. In camp last summer, you sent me a campogram email every single day. It was unbelievable. I still have all 30 of them. You are an amazing Bubby. We love you so much and miss you already. Love, your favorite grandchild.
Yeah, do you want to come speak?
I remember the day Bubby told me she and Zadie were going to be serving hot lunch at Ari Crown. I didn't even know if that was a good thing or a bad thing. It was going to be good and potentially extremely embarrassing. My grandmother might embarrass me in front of everyone. Zadie would be the only male server in the history of Ari Crown Hebrew Day School. And I'd get a 12-ounce Fanta and a large box of Mike and Ike's every single Wednesday. So I decided it was okay. Because there's nothing more than she wanted to do than to be with her grandkids, even while they're in the middle of school. When I moved on to yeshiva, and lunch obviously wasn't so great, Bubby would bring me a burger buddy all the time. Our text read, December 4th, Yitz, did you need something? ? She got me a burger buddy. December 20th, Ken's Diner soon? ? I'm pretty sure she got me a burger buddy that day. January 20th, are you home yet? Do you want a burger buddy? ? I'm not sure about that. She probably got me something. Bubby also had another weekly routine. Every Sunday during football season, she would text me the score to the Bears game and pretend that she actually knew anything about football. Why? Simply because it was something I enjoyed and she enjoyed. When Avi, Noah, and I were tackling in the famous yards-long Zissman backyard in Buffalo Grove, Bubby was the only adult that had the patience to sit there in the heat for an hour and a half and watch us. She didn't want to be anywhere else in the world but to make her grandkids happy and to watch them. Lauren Tyner says, Eliyahu Hanavi said to Rebroka about two people sitting in the marketplace. He said, these two men are destined to Olam Haba, the world to come. Rebroka went up and asked them, what do you do for your profession? They replied, we're comedians. We cheer others up. That's what Bubby was. Bubby was present. Bubby was happy. Bubby cheered us all on, no matter what. Pasuk in Tehillim says, "L'chein samach libi v'yagel kavodi." This is my heart is happy and my honor rejoices. Even my flesh dwells in security. And the pasuk goes on, "Todi'eni arechayim seva samachos espanechan imais b'nicha netzach." You shall let me know the way of life, you contentment of joy, at your face delights, at your right externally. Rashi explains these words, meaning content of joy, meaning joy that is no end, that is no termination, it's joy of the future. And panecha, in your face, meaning joys that are for you and on the group that is near you. Bubby represented simcha, she represented happiness. I can't remember a single time I walked into her house ever, she wasn't smiling. Whether you were Orthodox, non-Jewish, the most accomplished member of the family, you were not at all. She had a smile, she had a hug waiting, she loved you. Bubby, on behalf of all your grandchildren, those who are here today, Abby, Noah, Mira, Ephraim, and me, and those that had to have a vacation in Europe, Nomi, Yoni, and Avi. We ask forgiveness for anything we have done. We love you. May you continue to see nachas from us forever and ever.
מכתם לדוד, שמרני אל כי חסיסי בך, אמרת לאדוני אדוני עתה, תבוסי בעל עליך. לקדושים אשר בארץ המה, ואדירי כל חפצי בם. ירבו עד צוויסם אחר מהרו, ועל השיח נשגהם מדום, ועל עשה שמייסם על שפוסי. אדוני מנוס חלקי וחייסי, עתה תמיך גרו לי. חבלים נפלו לי בנעימים, אף נחלס שפרו עלי. אברכס אדוני אשר יעצני, אף לילס יסרוני חיל יסי. שביסי אדוני לנגדי סמד, כי מימיני בעל המית. לכן שמח ליבי ויגל כבדי, אף בשרי ישכן לבטח. כי לא יעשה עזב נפשי לשאול, לא יסיתן חסידך לרוי שחס. תדיעני ערכיים, סייבה שמחס אספניך, נעימייס בימינך נצח.
This concludes the funeral here at the chapel. The interment will take place at Shalom Memorial Park in Arlington Heights. For those who will be driving to the cemetery, we ask that you drive with your headlights and hazard lights on while in procession and drive as close as safety permits to the vehicle in front of you. At the conclusion of the interment, the family will be sitting Shiva at the Zissman residence, 6717 North Mozart, with Shachris every morning at 7 in the morning, and then Mincha followed by Marav at 6:30 p.m. The following individuals have been asked to act as pallbearers: Alan Blachman, Noah Zissman, Yitzi Zissman, Mark Zissman, Scott Zissman, Steve Zissman, and Aaron Ravel. If we could all rise, have the pallbearers please come forward. Once we have left the chapel, we ask everybody to please go immediately to their vehicles.